62 Papa Followed the Cessna, runway 23, clear touch, go, so 68 kilo, turn towards the numbers.
68 kilo, 62 Papa following, Cessna, clear touch, and go, runway 23.
Center 2 November Golf, Montgomery, Charlie, did you call?
29 November Golf,
Center 29 November Golf, turn inbound, make straight in runway 23, number 3, Followed Cessna, currently turning left base. This is Romeo, Juliet, frequency change approved, good day.
CA, Romeo, Juliet.
68 kilo, you start your base, runway 23, clear touch and go, Bonanza short final.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of the Aviation Lo Down. I'm your host, LO. You may know me from ATC Memes. Before I go any further, a lot of people are probably wondering, what does LO or low even mean? Well, it's my operating initials, I guess you'd call them. My real name is David Lombardo. You guys may know me from ATC Memes, but over the years I've gotten messages from people, what are you talking about? Low? Are you high? I don't understand any of this. But basically in the air traffic community, in your facility you use what are called your operating initials. I was never cool enough to get DL for David Lombardo, so apparently I was assigned LO for Lombardo. I actually think I picked him myself. I don't know. It just sounded kind of cool. But anyway, it stuck with me throughout the years, through my ATC Memes journey, where it continues to this day, and you're listening to me now, LO. So, you know, it's interesting too, like in aviation, like I said, a lot of people don't get the initials that they want. So consequently, we have things like AX, AX. His initials have essentially nothing to do with his name. Just a small little side story. Even in the beginning, none of us had any idea that ATC Memes would become what it is today. And I've gotten messages over the years from people asking, hey, you know, I really like your memes, I like your videos, your audios, but is there any way you can sort of create a more digestible format, like when I'm driving, when I'm flying my plane, when I'm studying for the 7110.65, which I probably should have done more of, but that's a different story for a different time.
Ouch.
But the point is, there's always been this desire, especially in 2019, where we are today, to have information easy to just, you know, retain and digest and listen to. People love listening to podcasts. And it's funny, I actually listened to audiobooks for years and years, and I continue to do so to this day.
Get a life, nerd.
But I never saw myself as being the podcast kind of guy. It just wasn't really in the cards for me, or so I thought.
Report traffic in sight.
I have the beach and the Cirrus in sight, Sedley Motel.
Thank you, so 62 Papa, after you pass.
So anyway, that's where we are today, and I hope you guys find this entertaining and just fun. And I'm going to talk to you in this first episode just about what I hope to do with the Aviation Lo Down. I don't really want to get too into the details and into the interviews and into the, you know, the memes even, because believe me, just seeing pictures of my face is enough humor for me and probably for most of you. I just want to talk to you guys about what I plan on portraying in this podcast.
I'll call your turn.
When I was a little kid, I had Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm sure you guys did too. And I also had no friends, but no, I'm kidding. I had a few friends, but I had no life. That's pretty much a given. So my friends and I would sort of play video games from, you know, 2:30 when we got home from school to like 10 o'clock, or when our parents made us go to bed, or whatever they made us do. And for years and years, I knew I just wanted to be a pilot. And I've talked to people about this. Maybe you guys can relate to this. I'm sure kids now, it's even worse because they're all connected too. See, back in my day, I sound old saying this, but there really wasn't a lot of like multiplayer stuff on the internet. That was sort of like new and novel. But you actually had to have your friends come over to your house. You know, I'm sure kids listening to this now are like, what are you talking about? Like, your kids, your friends? What? But yeah, that's really true. Back in my day, okay, this is like the late 90s. I'm not that old, okay, but people actually had to go over to your house to play. Now, the point is, when this happens, you're sort of like prepared and introduced to be prepared to different things and experiences. And I think one of my friends actually was the one who showed me, hey dude, check this out. You can fly other aircraft if you install these add-ons, because his dad installed some add-on to his Microsoft Flight Simulator. And it's funny to think too, I don't remember like an hour ago, and I don't remember 10 years ago. I certainly don't remember college, but I do remember so vividly that moment at David Bradley's house when his dad showed us that you could install additional aircraft on Microsoft Flight Simulator. I mean, my brain was just so blown. And I just remember thinking to myself, this is like what I have to do. I mean, there's no option. It wasn't like, maybe I'll go into aviation. It was like, no, dude, you have to do this. I'm sure a lot of people can sort of relate to this feeling, the feeling of a need to do something. I have to make this happen. There's no option. There's no other option for me in life. Like, this has to be... By the way, here comes a Jeep, so hold tight. Okay. And to me, what I'm going to talk to you about in this first episode is just exactly that. It's that feeling. It's that moment. It's that time in your life. And maybe you can call it passion. I think that running ATC Memes has introduced me to the fact that there is not any other industry on earth that is as passionate as aviation. I really think that that's true. But I went live about an hour ago on Instagram, and I sort of told people about this Aviation Lo Down podcast and what it would be about. And I said, there are so many great aviation podcasts out there. I'm sure you guys listening know them already, or you've listened to them already. But what I really want to portray in the Aviation Lo Down and sort of explain and experience and get to know better is just that passion. Because I think aviation is undoubtedly one of the most passionate fields on earth, period. And I've met so many people through ATC Memes, people who are way cooler than I am, by the way. You know who you are. And it just introduced to me the fact that I don't think there's any other experience on earth like controlled flight. Of course, maybe uncontrolled flight, which I'm sure some of you have probably dealt with, but that's a different story. We live in a very, very passionate era. And you hear people all the time say that, you know, Gen Z or millennials, they, you know, they're stubborn, or like they don't know what they want, or like, you know, they're so greedy and needy. And dude, believe me, let me tell you something right now. I think that this is the most exciting time to have a passion ever. Never before can you literally be naked in your living room, type in a topic, here comes the car. Okay, type in a topic that you're passionate about, and literally learn something new in a matter of minutes. You can have experiences on your couch. That sounds kind of wrong. Yeah, but anyway, you can have experiences on your couch while on YouTube that you didn't even know were possible. This is such a crazy time to be alive. I mean, you're listening to this now simply because of social media. It's not because of something I did. You know, I like talking to people about stuff that I think is interesting. But what got you to find me was the fact that you are really passionate about aviation. Okay? Or maybe you just think that our dick jokes are funny. That could be possible too. But the point is this. Aviation is full of passionate people, and I hope that in the coming episodes of this podcast, you'll agree with me that this is a really exciting time to not only share things on social media, but to be a part of the aviation industry. Another thing I want to talk to you guys about here in the first episode is probably how you found this podcast, which perhaps was through ATC Memes. And it's funny to me because ATC Memes represents, even in the name, some of the most stigmatized of all forms of entertainment, that is meme comedy. And throughout the past maybe 2 or 3 years, I think it's really become more mainstream and sort of quote-unquote accepted to be part of the meme game. And it's funny, the evolution of that delivery. I mean, you look at sites like Fuck Jerry and Barstool Sports, The Fat Jewish, and you know, these are multi-million-dollar companies that were largely started because of that idea, that there's a simple image or idea that's shared and agreed upon amongst many people. And so it's really, really more to me than just like stupid comedy. It's a way of creating communities and keeping people together. And that's like, when I see ATC Memes, I see something amazing because of all the fans that have kind of come together as one. I'm a musician myself. I've played guitar and drums for almost 2 decades now. It's hard to believe. But through that, I've always sort of had this idea of creating art, creating meaning, and creating something that is a little bit bigger than oneself. You know, you're in a band. It's like you want to create a sonic landscape and something that sounds great. You can't do it alone, but if the people in your group suck and they all, you know, fight and no one gets along, then it's just going to sound like garbage. And even if it does sound quote unquote good, the music's still going to suck. I mean, how many bands have broken up because the guys just couldn't get along? ATC Memes, though, represents, to me, a growing community. It's still getting bigger every day, that love the same stuff. And for that reason, I think the passion is something that really should be talked about. I hope to do that here in the Aviation Lo Down. been a lot of people in the past few days sharing memes about the frigid Arctic polar vortex that's coming down to the northern U.S. And it's actually funny that I mentioned that because I don't even realize there might be people listening from outside of the United States. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to propagate, but the point is it's really cold in some areas. I think Chicago had a wind chill down to like negative 50. I think after a while they just start making stuff up, but there was an image that was shared to, I think, Instagram, and then it hit Reddit, and it was number like 1 or 2 on the r/pics, the picture subreddit, and it was a picture, I'm looking at it now on my phone, is a picture of the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and it says negative 49 degrees Fahrenheit on that sign. Okay, well, that's pretty impressive in itself. But then there's like 6 people who are barely clothed just standing out flexing in front of this sign. Like, I mean, clearly hypothermia affects your mental reasoning. I'm just looking at this picture now, just realizing that there is, I don't think any mental reasoning in this picture. But one of the girls who, I mean, I think she's a female. There's so much shrinkage going on in this picture, it's kind of hard to tell who's what gender, but that's a different story. But she has a sectional chart top and bottom on it. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever, you know? And the guy behind her might have one too. But ATC Memes, like radarcontact.com, I've actually been at airports and ran into people wearing that stuff, which to me is just so trippy and cool. And it's so weird to me because I never thought that would be a big hit like that. But apparently people love wearing sectional charts even when it's negative 49 degrees Fahrenheit outside, which, by the way, keep in mind, that's without the wind. Okay, so again, I think they just start making stuff up after a while. Negative 49 degrees Fahrenheit, like, I think that's just really freaking cold. That's what you call that. Well, here in the first intro podcast, I didn't really want to pick any specific topic or any specific interview or theme, but just sort of give you a general synopsis as to what I plan to do with this thing. I went on Instagram Live, like I may have mentioned in previous things today, and I got a whole bunch of response from people wondering, you know, who I'd be interviewing, what we'd be talking about, and I kind of hit a little bit on that, but some of the interviews that we'll do are people who I, like, idolize. I think they're so cool, and to get them on this show is going to be something that is, to me, going to be the coolest experience of my life. I've actually talked with people in the past few weeks about getting them on the show, and to my surprise, pretty much all of them are down with it, you know? Which they just told me as long as they don't have to wear sectional chart clothing, but I said it's going to be primarily audio, so you might be okay. As the podcast grows, I'd like to also incorporate naturally our fans and the listener base, because you guys, like ATC Memes, make it what it is. Certainly me talking to you in my frigid car with my fingers falling asleep is not going to be the most entertaining podcast in the world. But if you get people asking their questions, submitting their themes, asking, you know, what is it about Say No to Kilo? What does that even mean? Which I think I have a whole episode dedicated to that coming up. It's sort of in the works as we speak. But things that pertain to aviation that are really real and very relevant that maybe you just have no idea what they are or what they mean or who cares, right? That's stuff that you need to be aware of. And again, I want to have the community effort being really real here at the Aviation Lo Down. Hopefully that's going to be a thing. Well, guys, that's pretty much it for episode 1. Very, very short and brief. I just wanted to sort of introduce you to what the Aviation Lo Down is going to be about. Again, I'm LO, aka David Lombardo from ATC Memes, and this is the Aviation Lo Down. I look forward to having you guys on the show, submitting ideas, listening to these interviews. They are going to be so cool. Once again, people who I idolize. It's like, I'm talking to these people? This is going to be incredible. Don't really want to spill too many beans as to what's to come, but it's going to be really cool. I hope you guys subscribe and listen to this and share it with your friends and family and people who you like, people who you don't like. Who cares? Like I said, aviation is one big, passionate community, and it's kind of small. People need to stick together. And on that note, my fingers are pretty much completely numb at this point in this Arctic polar vortex. So on behalf of the Aviation Lo Down, coming to you from Long Island, New York, signing off episode 1. Hope to see you guys back for episode 2 coming real soon. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
That's a negative. No, I got the 102 final. That's motel. That's your traffic. Turn base. Runway 23. Clear to land. Your number 2.
Number 2. On base. 7 Lima Hotel.
2 popping out. Turn down. I'll call your base for 1 departure.
The pop is on down when you'll call the base.
6 kilo. Turn down. Follow the Cessna 12 o'clock. A mile left downwind in the pattern.
And 6 kilo. Turn left downwind. Have traffic.
Prepper Mount Soda. Montgomery Tower Squawk 04. 400, make left traffic, runway 23, stay call sign. Disregard aircraft over Lake Murray, Montgomery Tower, did you call?
Helicopter 221 Lima Echoes over Lake Murray. I'd like to do a transition through your airspace along the 8 at or above 1,000.
To say Romeo Juliet, contact ground.
Romeo Juliet, good job.
Helicopter 1 Lima Echo, transition approved, altimeter 29 or 902. Did you want to go to Limburg eventually?
We're going to head to the Mission Bay VOR.
Okay, Cub 8 Golf Echo, Montgomery Tower, did you call?
I did. I'd like a write down wind departure, please.
Big Golf Echo, I can't give you a right down, left down work.
Just perfect, 8 Golf Echo.
The Big Golf Echo, taxi over the whole bars, be ready to go. Hold short, runway 23.
Holding short, 23, 8 Golf Echo.
The low wing, holding short at 23, are you ready?
Negative, about 5 minutes.
The 62 Poppy, start your base, runway 23, clear touch and go. Continue left traffic till further.